Fantastic.
Which one is my camera? This one. Shout out to myself.
Alright, so welcome back to PLB Insights. Today we're going to review Grand Dunman, and I know a lot of you have been waiting for this upcoming launch because this is the last one in D15 that we're expecting
This year.
this year, and of course this is one of the largest projects that will be launched with 1,008 units. Great, and of course today I have Wayne and Yu Rong with us, and we're going to review this together with you on whether is Grand Dunman something that you can explore to enter into in 2023. Let's go.
You have to pay a premium to enjoy the void space that comes along with this penthouse unit. This entire project.
Something that's very interesting is that on this particular step, which is step number 1, right drop off point, you have a gym plus. So we're gonna head in. Let's go.
Mission control, we have liftoff.
Okay, so Grand Dunman is going to be the last plot of land that's going to be launched in D15, and following the successful launch of Tembusu Grand and of course the most recent Continuum, everybody will be looking at Grand Dunman as to this particular project. What is it going to be? What is it going to entail in terms of what the developer is going to bring to the consumers? So this project by itself is sitting on a very huge land plot. By numbers, it's about 25,000 square meters. As compared to some of the other projects around there, you know, your Waterbank, your Dakota, they are all standing at about 12,000 to 17,000 square meters. So by itself, the land plot is one of the biggest land plot. And this project was part of the government land sales that was bidded last year in June 2022. And I believe the land bid price is also one of the highest in records at $1.28 billion.
Right.
So it was being awarded to SingHaiyi together with CSC Land as a joint venture. This project is a 99 years leasehold project. I think one of the main selling points is, of course, the close proximity to the train station as well as also to Konghua School, which is within 1 kilometers. And I think more importantly is about the entire view itself, where the southern view is actually facing towards the whole Goodman landed enclave.
Let's have a look at the view. I mean,
Yep.
from the
So if you look at
Google Earth.
the Google Earth view, just to orientate, so right now I'm facing towards the south. This land plot, I'll just have to do it. I just have to show you how big this land plot is.
Yeah.
So if you can see, this is Waterbank at Dakota,
yeah.
right? And this whole entire land plot will be the whole Grand Dunman.
Right. So, Wayne,
Mm.
let's shift right a little bit. Now, Waterbank and Dakota, as well as Dakota Residences, they have done so well
Yep.
in terms of launch. And these two are like the key pivot projects in the whole Dakota. So when you tell people that you live in Waterbank or you live in Dakota Residences, they instantaneously know that it's just right beside the MRT. So this is going to be like the third one.
Yep.
And I think this area has not had like a really huge high-rise condo launch for many years already, right? Let's look at the view a little bit because I think this view is going to be fantastic. I mean, we saw a couple of units at Dakota Residences, Waterbank before. As long as you're looking towards that view, you look through the entire landed enclave, Goodman area.
Yep.
Fantastic ventilation.
Very windy.
Very windy. It's like super windy.
Yep.
Yeah, even if you're on level 1 of the facility zone, the airflow coming is just fantastic, and somehow the airflow just comes straight from the sea. So what do you think? I mean, like, should somebody really focus on getting that south-facing view?
I believe the south-facing view will be very expensive. I think it'll be one of the most premium ones because this is sitting largely on a north-south orientation, slightly inclined a little bit, but in general, be more towards the south and towards the north as well. So south is a protected view because all these are all the landed enclave, and definitely you won't see any high-rise all the way down towards the coast area. So it's definitely going to be I would say a very beautiful view with a very beautiful price tag.
How about the north-facing?
All right.
Let's turn around.
So let's take a look at the north. So this is the north-facing.
And the north-facing is going to have a future plot coming up, right?
Yep. So this particular land plot, this is, if some of you will know, this is the old Guillemard camp. So right now, this area is being zoned as a residential area as well. So land plot, in terms of plot ratio, will be 3.5, the same as your Grand Dunman. Right now, there's no plans as of what's going to happen right here, but we do know that from the URA master plan, as you can see right here, this is going to be the land plot. So right now, this entire land belongs to the army camp, as you can see right here.
Right.
So the whole entire restricted area. So this is the vacant army camp. So what URA has done is that they have split the land into two. So as you can see, the one that's closer towards the Geylang River, this will be zone residential 3.5.
Right.
And then there's this very interesting plot over here
Special
that is
use.
special use. So we do not know what's going to be happening right there. But
Mm.
I would say that generally most of the units that's facing towards the north view, provided if all the blocks in Grand Dunman is going to be laid out in a way that is north-south orientation, then probably the north views will be facing towards the future development.
Okay, great. Yu Rong, what's your assessment of this area? I mean, now this is a third project,
Mm.
Continuum, as well as Tembusu Grand. How do you assess the performance of Continuum so far?
Okay, so for Continue, of course, the headline says that, like it was sold 26%, and of course, generally, like comparing to Tembusu, which did 53%, right? So it is very, or like Blossoms by the Park that did 75% after the ABSD announcement, because after the ABSD announcement, only Blossom by the Park as well as Continuum launch, and people will compare based on percentage and say, maybe Continuum didn't do that well at 26%, but not to forget that actually Continuum, we have 800 plus over units. It is the second sort of like biggest launch this year at 26%. So actually we have already sold 216 units. So just by sheer volume in terms of projects that were launched this year so far, actually Continuum was the best selling in terms of volume, second best selling. First being Tembusu Grand, which did about 340 units, then followed by Continue. So I think overall performance, it shows that actually in terms of District 15, very popular. And now, of course, these three projects, they all have trying to find their own anchoring area, like Continuum, trying to anchor itself as the only freehold land plot. So that attracts that kind of target audience that probably will want some form of legacy planning, long-term play.
Right.
And Tembusu Grand, I think in terms of like the starting PSF is attractive for like a new launch in the District 15 area. And of course for Grand Dunman itself, its attraction factor, of course, will be this proximity to MRT station. Out of these three plots, if you really, really love something that is 3 to 4 minutes walk
Just right beside.
right to the MRT station, you wouldn't have a sweat. This will be something that will be interesting. We also have dual key units over here as additional, like anchoring factor. And if you like mega size development project, this is the only project this year that is above 1,000 units. Right. Because only 3 projects this year that is launching is above 700 units. Yeah.
Thanks, Yu Rong. Wayne, do you think based on the balance units available at Continuum as well as Tembusu Grand right now, will this affect the performance of Grand Dunman? What do you think? What's your viewpoint?
Well, I don't think it will affect much because if you look at the leftover units, I mean, if you look at these those unsold units in Continuum and Tembusu right now, so Continuum, the unsold units for the larger size, of course, we will have your 5 bedrooms, your 4 all the way to 3. So you can see that Continuum, because of, I believe, is because of the quantum play, and that's the reason why most of your 3 bedders to your 5 bedders. So you can see that the pricing wise, for 3 bedder, you're talking about $2.3 million starting from, all the way to the 5 bedrooms, which is about $5.4 million, right? Whereas for Tembusu, the remaining units left to be your 3 bedrooms as well, but it's not a lot. If you look at it, it's about 15 units for 3 bedrooms in Tembusu. So I believe your main competitor will be from Tembusu versus your Grand Dunman. I wouldn't say you will provide a threat, but I think it offers our consumers a selection. Because I think first and foremost, the address will be different.
Right.
So Tembusu is more towards the Marine Parade side already.
Yeah.
Whereas for Grand Dunman is more towards your Dakota side. So in terms of address, it's a bit different. But of course, the attractiveness of Grand Dunman, like what Yu Rong has mentioned, I think by sheer size, large units types, in terms of view, I believe it has a better view as compared to Tembusu, because Tembusu, in a way, you are still being blocked by some high-rise front and back.
The most unblocked choices that you have in out of these 3 plots.
Yeah, correct.
Right.
So then, of course, in terms of the proximity to train station, your F&B, your amenities, your schools, I think Grand Dunman checks a lot of these kind of like checkboxes.
You mentioned schools. There are 2 schools within a kilometers.
Yeah.
What are the 2 schools other than Gonghua?
Gonghua is one of them. Within 2 kilometers, you have another. Just hold on.
Within 1 kilometer is just Gonghua.
Just Gonghua, right?
Okay.
Correct. So
Right.
within 1 kilometers is Guanghua. Within 2 kilometers, we have 3 other schools, namely your Geylang Methodist, Haig Girls, as well as Tanjung Katong Primary School.
Okay, great. So, other than the points that we have mentioned, what are some of the key USP that SingHaiyi has planted into Grand Dunman? Because I saw on your notes there's like every
Yep.
unit in the Grand Block
Yep.
comes with a steam room. Can you share with us what is that?
So, I mean, of course, at this time of recording, we have not gotten the floor plan yet. So, we will share more about floor plans later on. But based on the initial information that was being shared by the developer, there will be a total of 7 blocks over there. And being 3.5 plot ratios, we should be expecting the top floor units to be around 20 to 21st floors, thereabout. And out of these 7 blocks, 6 of them will be more of like the team luxury block. And there'll be one called the Grand Block. So all the units in this Grand Block would actually feature a steam room inside the house itself.
Wow.
So I think that's something that's very interesting. In terms of the units mix, you have your smallest unit from 1 bedroom all the way to your largest unit of 5 bedrooms. And also, as what Yu Rong has mentioned earlier on as well, dual key units will make a comeback in the D15 area. So I think in terms of rental play, I think that area will also be one of the quite sought after place because of its close proximity to the Paya Lebar business district, whereby there will be I would say quite a number of tenants that are actually working around there. Yep. So I think that's also one of the attractiveness of having this dual key
Right.
structure.
I think the Grand Block will also like probably feature private lift specifically.
Yeah.
And of course, if it's a dual key unit, personally, I'm looking forward to dual key units where not just one side only has a studio, meaning that like a bed, like a more like kitchenette, and then your own bathroom. Actually, I'm looking forward to actually developers launching dual keys that is more like a 2 bed on one side and 3 bed on the other side, or on the one side the studio side actually has a living component, which these kind of dual keys are more seldom. I think
It's like a 5
bedder
Piccadilly
dual key.
Grand, Piccadilly Grand, we saw something like
Yes.
that. Flora, in Flora, I also saw something like this kind of layout before.
Are you talking about a 5-bedder dual key or?
Yeah, like a 5-bedder dual key, or like
Wow.
a 2+3, or like 1+4.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a multi-gen living, or like you can really enjoy a big space but you still rent out one.
Yes.
Rather than the traditional 3-bed dual key and 2-bed dual key.
I personally maybe not a big fan of 2-bed dual key because it's just really one studio and a 1-bedder. I think like generally a minimum like a 3-bedroom dual key has more kind of flexibility in terms of own use on one side, renting out on the other side, so that you have your tenant helping you to finance part of your monthly installment, like part of using other people's money as well in your first primary residence property. I think that is also like interesting.
I think in the past the 2-bed dual key appeals a lot to single professionals and young couple. Yeah, so they can at least still have like a rental component. I want to get you guys' thought process on the potential launch price. So now, I think we talked about this in our 2 previous episodes on Continental and Tembusu Grand, that now Grand Dunman has like a later launch date. They sort of have this kind of like advantage, right? Because they can sort of study the performance of that 2 projects in D15, one freehold, 199, and how much do you roughly think will be the expected launch price for Grand Dunman?
Personally, I believe that the range should be between 2.5 to 2.6. Yeah, I think that will be
Why is that so?
You will sit in between the Tembusu and in between Continental, which is freehold. So Continental, as we know, the launch pricing is about 2.6 to 2.7 PSF. Whereas for Tembusu is around 2.4, 2.5. So having Grand Dunman being a bigger land plot, I mean on average out, likely the launch price will be in the range of 2.5 to 2.6.
Right. How about you, Rong? What do you think?
Okay, so for example, like Tembusu Grand launch starting PSF is about 2003 PSF. Of course, averagely transacted during launch day 2465. Continuum gave a starting price of like 25 PSF and average transacted at 2732 per square feet. So of course, we also understand that for Grand Dunman, the land bid price itself is higher than Tembusu Grand slightly. But because Tembusu Grand is 600 plus unit, this is 1000 units. Taking into account, I think if they can same thing, I think if they launch it as something that is starting from like 2003 PSF with an average price of 2005, I think that will make it very attractive in the sense that they don't really need to launch that high because of the additional number of units. Based on the unit mix, they will have like more quantity of smaller units that overall actually have a good decent profit margin as well. And I think it will have an attractive PSF from the angle from the audience to come in as well.
for those of you who are joining us for the first time, so what we're going to do for our Insight series moving forward is that for those projects that is going to be launched much later, we'll do a 2-part series. So, for example, today, Grand Dunman, we're doing part 1 because we still don't have the release floor plans and site plan, and we couldn't analyze that at this point in time. But once those information are made available, what we'll do is that we will film part 2 so that you can come in and look at our recommendations based on floor plans, stack facing, stack directions, as well as price point comparison once we have more information. Now, leveraging on what Wayne and Yu Rong said, I think because of the higher land bid price, you can see that out of the 7 blocks, it seems that developer is going to position this into like a Lux project. Yeah, there's 6 blocks theme luxury, 1 grand block. Grand block already has the steam room, potentially a private lift. If this entire project is deemed to be luxury, maybe they're going to put in like, I don't know, maybe additional things inside to ensure that that resonates or it value add to the additional price point that they might be aiming for, right? So both of you think that it's about 2526.
I think 2.5 roughly will be the average.
Right. Okay. And we still don't have the distribution, right?
We don't have the
Okay.
we don't have the distribution. So we do not know how many are they going to focus a lot on 1 bedder, 2 bedder, or are they going to focus more towards the 3, 4, 5 bedders being in an area where generally families will be in. They want to be in because of schools and also the secondary tertiaries as well.
Right.
Yep.
Usually, based on this approach, developers have a few key strategy. If let's say they want to sell at least half the project, they definitely have to make sure that they must be confident that 50% of the distribution type, after calculating GFA and all that, they have this sizable audience that will absorb the units. And one possible absorption point is, of course, to look at the existing demographics in that district, or whether can this product attract other people from other districts to move in. So one way, of course, is to look at the largest audience in Singapore, which are the HDB upgrading family. So maybe Wayne, bring us through the 2 data you have from the HDB annual report.
So if you look at the Geylang side, so basically the Dakota area is more towards the Geylang planning area. So in terms of the number of units or in terms of residentials per se, right, in terms of Geylang, you have looking about 78,000 households. They are living in the HDB flats. And out of which, if you look at the numbers, it's about 50,000 of them. These are basically the total number of households. And as we know, if we were to look into that particular Dakota area, you can see that 80% of them are basically owners occupied, and then there'll be about 10 to 15% of their mainly tenants. So we still see quite a fair bit of basically the owners occupied based on the Dakota estate. When I look at, my reference project will be Waterbank at Dakota and also Dakota Residences, which is the 2 nearest projects besides Grand Dunman. So when you look at this kind of like population data, we know that owners occupied are still mainly contributing to about 80% of the number of households staying in the area.
Right.
And not forgetting that if you look at the street directory map, diagonally on the left side of Dunman Grand, you have a couple of new clusters of HDB, which is your Dakota Breeze and also your Dakota 1, which is under construction. And the Mountbatten CC is also one of the URA master plan development as well, that they're going to enlarge the whole entire CC to serve the area. So by having so many HDBs clusters in this area, and Dakota Breeze and Dakota 1 being one of the newer ones, this serves as a future HDB upgraders who wants to move into a new 99 years leasehold project right there.
Right. Thanks, Wayne. So, Yu Rong, now that we know that the vacant army camp right across Dunman Grand is going to be stipulated as a residential plot, how would you advise a potential sort of like a family that's planning to buy Grand Dunman? How should you look at this vacant plot? Like, do you think it's good news or actually it's bad news?
Personally, I would see it as good news. Generally, of course, like when there is a vacant plot, of course, somewhere down the road, it will probably be launched as a government land sale. And depending on when it's launched, it will hit a new record PSF. So generally, new launches will definitely help to uplift, the surrounding kind of prices. So I would say as a good news. Of course, some might take it negatively because, at this moment, you actually still get more of like an unblocked view if you are seeing towards the northern area. And I think what is important is to actually see the price premium differential in terms of different facing. Because actually for Dunman Grand, likely there will only be 3 facing. South facing will be the most premium because it offers unblocked view. You have the internal facing, the pool view. Generally, I would say like your view won't change over time, and then you have the northern one, which over time it might change. And so personally, I would say that from an investment angle, we always analyze what's the percentage of premium for a similar unit type across a different view, and I will buy something that is more of a value in terms of pricing.
Right.
Yeah, but this is but if it's for own stay, you really enjoy block view, then of course you can opt for the ones that are facing the south units.
Right. So I think this land plot is also pretty interesting because we don't mention the north facing. So if you are buying the units that's facing towards this direction, firstly, of course, you face the Dunman Road. Secondly, you face potentially right across you. There's going to be probably like a setback right here, and then you're going to see like high rise because it's 3.5 meters, right? This south facing is the best. So I think south will be most expensive.
I think the north facing should be the lowest in pricing, considering
Right.
road noise, future development.
The second most premium will be the internal, quieter, pool view. But I think there's like an additional chance for some units to be facing here as well, towards this direction. Maybe towards the southeast direction. West will be towards the HDB block. So I don't think the developers will create any units directly facing towards the west. So it should be here, internal, south, followed by a slanted kind of angle right here. The past projects that SingHaiyi has done, there was a mega one as well, which is Park Clementis, right? So based on both your knowledge of Park Clementis and its performance level, plus the kind of things that they put inside the project, because it's a mega project, what do you think will be some of the must-haves in terms of condo facilities for this development?
I think
like I don't know how many tennis courts and stuff like that. Like,
of course, like generally, like for like 1,000 unit, I think what's most important is probably at least like 2 pools. That's one. If you have like more than like 2 function room, will be good. And of course, it is best that it is being segmented into like 2 different zones, so that at least residents wouldn't feel that they are all congregated in a certain area.
right.
Tennis court, of course, is a must-have. Like, I mean, it's like a 1,000 kind of unique kind of project. Overall, I would say that just now you mentioned about like depending on the distribution mix, right? Because overall, median size has to be 85 square meters for all the units. That's how they arrive at 1,000 plus units based on the land plot that was being sold. But I would say that direction-wise, if developers really want to build a lot of small units, then they have to be compensated with maybe a larger amount of like 3-bedder or 4-bedder that is like bigger, right? So I would say that I will feel that, let's say, based on like the Tembusu Grand or like Continuum kind of price, I think like sort of like a sweet spot is what we are looking for over here. Is really effective layout for like the 3 and 4 bedders. Not much in terms of like like very unoptimized space when you have that increase in size. Because if you want increase in sizing, we want actually more optimized spaces as well that we can actually properly utilize.
Right. Thanks. Wayne, bring us through the 2 closest projects, which is Dakota Residences as well as Waterbank and Dakota, in terms of PSF level and choices in these 2 resale properties. What are some of the comparatives right now if somebody is planning like, should I just might as well buy an older development? Because Dakota Residences land tenure starts from 2007. So right now at 2023 is about 16 years old. Then for Waterbank,
2009.
2009. So
2
it's
years.
about 14 years old right now.
Right.
Yeah. So how should somebody view these 2 developments if let's say they are juggling between going for a resale versus a new launch? And of course, we all know that there are different preferences, and you buy a new launch, you have progressive payment, you get a brand new product, you enjoy this thing called the herd mentality, that everybody enters into the project at the same phase and they collect the keys at the same phase. So naturally, in terms of price point, stability, there's a certain threshold that will be hit when the project hits TOP. So later we'll dive into this if this is your first time joining us, to understand what is herd mentality. But maybe share with us a little bit about these 2 price points.
Right. So if you look at the Dakota Residences, which is slightly newer, slightly older. Slightly older. So you can see that the past transactions, there's been pretty healthy transactions in 2023 itself. So average PSF is about 1,600 to 1,700, about 1,650. If you look at the whole entire PSF transactions, in terms of unit size, they are also largely the bigger ones. So you have your 1023 square feet, which I believe will be your
Two bedder.
two bedders, right?
Two bedder.
Two bedders two bedders.
Huge, it's
Yeah.
huge.
Of course, one of the reasons was for Dakota residences, they are under the bay window planter era.
Right.
So
Okay.
so actually all the square footage, of course, like it is bigger. Of course,
Mm.
it is not fully maximized due to the bay window as well as the planters.
While Wayne is showing this, I'm looking at Property Guru, right? So naturally, based
Asking
on
prices.
our observation, asking prices will start to see that uptrend
Mm.
by existing owners whenever a new launch is going to happen, because
Yeah.
the owners will know how much the developers are roughly going to launch. So if you look at Dakota Residences right now,
Which
a
is what
three
I've
bedder,
plot out over here already.
right? So a three bedder, people
is
are asking for
Waterbank.
2.48. Two bedder, people are asking for
Dakota,
1.98.
Okay.
If you see this, so the three bedders lowest price is already at 2.27 for a unit in Dakota Residences. Studio one bedroom, only Waterbank and Dakota have it only.
Because
Oh,
Dakota,
okay,
the
DR.
smallest is a two bedder.
Yeah.
Right.
So WD will stands for Waterbank and Dakota. DR is Dakota Residences.
Mm.
So if you look at two bedders, you have your smallest the lowest price is 1.228, and the highest price would actually be for this particular unit 1098 square feet at $1.98 million. So in terms of PSF wise, you can see that for those highest PSF, they are all transacting they are all asking at above $2,000. Mainly all from Waterbank and Dakota,
Mm.
being newer. Right.
Mm.
And then of course, for the three bedrooms, you have your $2.27 to $2.7 million. And the four bedrooms are all minimally already calling for $3 million already.
Right.
Mm.
And you can notice that there's no 5 bedrooms over here in these two projects. So that will be something that's quite refreshing for Grand Dunman.
Mm.
And generally, of course, Waterbank and Dakota PSF is higher because there are more smaller units, and of course the layout is more effective without all those additional bay window and planter.
Mm.
So of course, generally when you are dividing based on a more effective kind of square footage that is smaller, your PSF will be sort of like it looks higher in comparable as to the Dakota residences.
Right. So actually, I think based on how the quantum asking price is doing in these two developments, because they were created in the previous era, they were larger in fashion. For example, if you look at Waterbank, one of the sellers right now, three bedder, 184 square feet, they're asking for about 2.38 million. I think as long as Grand Dunman is launching around the quantum range, they will create an advantage for the new launch, because though PSF is higher, but overall quantum, in terms of buyers,
Affordability, the mindset.
their dilemma will be the new launch is about the same quantum as the resale. And though the resale is a lower PSF, but I'm getting something that is new.
That you can use for 14 years longer.
Yeah. And of course, though the size is smaller, but it's a brand new product, brand new design and things like that. Now let's move on to the next portion, right? So what do you think when this project TOP, in terms of your perspective, what do you think will be the uptick in terms of appreciation PSF, maybe by year 2027 when this project hits its full completion date? Like what do you guys think?
2027. Now it's 2023,
4 years later, 2027, they collect their keys. And also, Yu Rong, share with us a little bit about this concept called the herd mentality.
Of course, I think like generally, this is I think that the dividing routes of whether you prefer to go for a new launch or a resale as your primary investment strategy. So it is more of like your own balancing point of your risk versus reward. So for example, when you buy new launches, herd mentality is because, let's say all three of us enter the same project, right? We will enter at similar kind of pricing. And so when we enter at similar pricing, what it means is that we all have a sort of a similar expectation in terms of the minimum exit price. So for example, maybe all three of us, we don't have to communicate with each other, but in our heart, we will say, okay, I think we will minimally exit at $300 PSF higher than my entry price. Because that will actually motivate us enough to actually move out. If not, why not? I would just enjoy a brand new property for myself instead of letting go. So this is what we call like herd mentality. And it's also something where sometimes when people are buying into resale properties, they might be fearful. Rationale is because they are thinking, oh, today, let's say I just entered this project. I just bought into this project. It is at like 1,700 PSF, for example, at Dakota Residences, right? But then we realized that when it first launched, maybe Melvin bought in it at a much lower entry price. And then they are concerned that, hey, if Melvin bought at a much lower entry price, next time when I want to sell, I will not have an advantage over the first owners because they could always sell below my entry price and then still be profitable.
Right.
Okay. And so I think that is, of course, very dangerous in a very stagnant market. Or like in a market that is moving downwards. Because if let's say, for example, I enter and then there is a major recession, right? The first owners can always exit at a profit even at lower entry price than me. So this is always the fear when it comes to the resale property. So hence people will like this sort of like herd mentality as a form of like safety net for like a new launch entry.
Right. Thanks. And if you want to understand more about herd mentality, I just launched a 10-part series on our Nuggets on the Go channel. Just head on to YouTube or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, just key in NOTG. So basically, this is a 10-part series that I sit down with you to analyze how we look at developments based on their performance over the past years, just using very simple tools. So the first episode, I sat down and analyzed cover melody using square foot, so that you can come behind the scene and come from our perspective to see how we usually analyze the development, whether is it wise to enter, at which price point, and of course, how do we gauge the performance on how it has performed over the years. So episode number 1, cover melody, we talk a lot about the history as well as this concept called herd mentality and whether should you go for a project that is going on an uptrend or should you aim for a project that's going on a downtrend, hoping that you will do a U-turn, right? So
I think this also depends on whether the primary approach is a momentum investing or whether is it form of like a value investing.
Right. Great. Moving to Wayne, before we end this episode, Wayne, share with us a little bit about the potential rental performance of this area. What do you think will be potentially by year 2027? If somebody would buy a 1, 2, 3, or 4 bedroom in Grand Dunman, how much do you think you can rent it out?
I mean, of course, we can't really forecast what is going to be the future rental price, but I mean, looking at the current landscape right there in the Dakota area, you only have like Waterbank at Dakota and also Dakota Residences that's within minutes away from Dakota Station. Of course, when the Grand Dunman comes in, this will be one of the newest projects. But looking at the current rental records right now, of course, Dakota Residences being older, it features a bigger unit size. So your 2-beders right there is about $5,400. 3-bedroom is about $6,000 to $8,000. So that is generally the average kind of PS the rental pricing that we are getting in the Dakota area. Waterbank for 4-bedroom is also about $8,000. So largely they are pretty much quite high. Judging the fact that it's because I think the close proximity to the city center area, because you're just minutes away from city center, you're living quite close to the Paya Lebar district as well, close proximity to train station. So all these are the factors that tenants, they are actually largely looking at for a private property rental.
I mean, there's a rentability from the CBD kind of area like Suntec City, if they are working around the area, just the direct train station, yellow line to the promenade station. So like this is basically also shows the attractiveness in terms of rental catchment if you are thinking of buying a property here, such that like you can actually invest and rent out while you are waiting for the capital appreciation to come during your holding period.
Right, awesome, great. All right, any final touch points to talk about before we head into part 2 once more information is out?
Actually, personally, this is one of my most excited or like look forward to project in 2023 because personally I love projects that are above 1,000 units, and over the last few years projects in this category has proven itself to actually perform really well in terms of profitability for our clients when we are able to select the correct units to enter. Due to one of the factors being in terms of volume of transaction, they are one of the easiest benchmark in terms of trending with developers' price as they do a step-up pricing over the time of selling out the entire development, plus how the resale volume transaction actually helps to push up valuation. So that becomes like a easy exit for like all this kind of mega development. But of course, this is a caveat when we choose the wrong unit over here. It also means that it's very easy to get stuck because comparatively, there are so many other selection that the future buyers can actually opt for. Right? So we need careful selection as well.
Great, awesome. Wait, any final touch points?
Yeah, but I think this will also be one of the exciting projects because I think largely if you look at this future, right, despite the fact that this Guillemard camp is zoned as one residential site, but if you look at this particular land size, it's really huge. So we do not know whether will this be further split into 2 different projects or it's just going to be one single project. Because if it's just going to be one single project, this land size
1,003 units.
Yeah, it's going to be much more than Grand Dunman. Grand Dunman, correct.
Right.
So largely it may be two different kind of like projects right here, which means that there will be further future appreciation for Grand Dunman.
Right.
So that's also something that we should also be looking forward to as well.
Right.
Yeah. So I think in terms of the units mix, I think right now let's wait for the units mix to be out. Number of units distribution, and then we can.
Sorry, is it
actually-
called Grand Dunman or Dunman Grand?
Grand Dunman?
It's confirmed already, huh?
Yeah, it's Grand Dunman. So they have not updated yet. Yep.
Okay.
So it's Grand Dunman.
Okay, great. Awesome. So we'll see you at part 2 of Grand Dunman. Take care. See you soon.